In the city of luxury and lies, one forbidden love crossed the line and ended buried beneath the Dubai sands. Layla Rahman was the kind of woman who could stop traffic with her smile. But when she fell for Omar Al-Fayed, a married millionaire with secrets darker than the Dubai night, her glittering life spiraled into a deadly obsession that ended beneath the desert sand. Layla Rahman was 26, ambitious, and living the kind of life that most girls scrolling through Instagram could only dream of. The shimmering skyline of Dubai was her backdrop, and every move she made looked picture-perfect. By day, she hustled through the glossy halls of a luxury PR agency, managing events for high-end fashion brands, dressed to kill in designer heels and confidence. But beneath the glam, Layla's heart craved something real, something that didn't come wrapped in gold or filtered through the lens of a perfect feed. Her friends envied her, but she knew deep down that her life was hollow, running on expensive coffee, fake smiles, and empty flings. One humid evening at a private art event in downtown Dubai, she met Omar Al-Fayed, a man who didn't just enter the room, he owned it. He was tall, older, radiating power and mystery with a wedding ring that gleamed like a warning. Everyone knew Omar's name. He ran a string of successful import businesses and was known for his charm and money. But when his eyes met Layla's, something dangerous sparked. He spoke to her like no one ever had, making her feel seen in a world obsessed with appearances. Their chemistry was instant, electric, the kind that burned logic to ash. Layla knew he was off limits, but temptation had its own rhythm, and Omar played it like a song she couldn't stop listening to. Dubai's luxury lights blurred into a haze that night, and Layla stepped into a world where secrets were the currency of passion. For the first time in years, she felt alive. But she didn't realize that the same heartbeat that thrilled her would soon drag her into darkness. Because in Dubai, everything glittered, even the lies. The affair between Layla and Omar began like a spark and turned into wildfire before either of them could slow it down. Every secret meeting felt like stolen time, like they were cheating fate as much as his marriage. They met in hidden restaurants, tucked behind marble walls, where no one dared to ask questions, and on private yachts drifting across the Persian Gulf under skies glittering with Dubai's neon glow. He sent her expensive gifts, designer bags, diamond bracelets, and handwritten notes, signed with promises that he never planned to keep. Layla fell harder with every word, convinced that she was special, that she was the reason his cold marriage still had warmth left. She told herself he'd leave his wife soon, that love this powerful couldn't be wrong. But in a city built on status, Omar's life was too public, too polished, too dependent on the illusion of perfection. His wife, Mariam, a poised and elegant woman known among Dubai's elite, began to notice the cracks. Late-night calls, sudden business trips, and that lingering scent of Layla's perfume on his jacket. Meanwhile, Layla's obsession grew. She started watching his every move online, questioning his silence, replaying his words when he ghosted her for days. The secrecy that once thrilled her began to suffocate her. She didn't realize she was losing herself, becoming the kind of woman she once swore she'd never be. Omar was torn between guilt and addiction. He wanted to end it, but couldn't. The rush of danger, the forbidden touch, the thrill of being wanted, it was all too intoxicating. They both ignored the growing storm around them, pretending they could keep their secret affair tucked away behind tinted car windows and whispered lies. But in Dubai, no secret stays buried for long, and theirs was about to explode. Layla's world began to twist when her phone lit up late one night with a message from an unknown number, a photo of her and Omar sitting in his car, his hand brushing her knee. Her stomach dropped. It wasn't just a threat. It was a warning that someone was watching. Another message came seconds later. "He's mine. Stay away." The words burned into her mind like fire. She knew instantly it was Mariam, Omar's wife, though the number was hidden. Layla's pulse raced as paranoia crept in. Everywhere she went, she felt eyes on her. The security guards at her building, the tinted cars that seemed to slow when passing by, even co-workers whispering when she entered the office. Her confidence began to crack. When she confronted Omar about the messages, his calmness infuriated her. He brushed it off, saying she was overreacting, but his eyes told another story. Fear. Mariam was no fool, and she had money, connections, and rage that could destroy them both. Layla, cornered by humiliation and heartbreak, decided to take control. She texted Omar that if he didn't leave his wife soon, she would go public with everything, every message, every hotel booking, every secret dinner. Omar panicked, realizing how much he stood to lose. His business deals relied on his spotless reputation, and a scandal could end his career, his marriage, and his freedom. He tried to reason with her, but Layla's anger had reached a boiling point. She wanted revenge for every broken promise and every night she spent waiting. That same evening, Omar texted her back, asking to meet in person to talk things out once and for all. Layla agreed, unaware that the decision would seal her fate. She thought she was taking control, but instead, she was walking straight into the trap of her own destruction. The desert stretched endlessly under the fading orange sky as Layla's car. Headlights cut through the emptiness of Al-Qudra Road. The air was thick, dry, and eerily silent. Nothing but the wind swirling the sand around her heels as she waited. She checked her phone. Omar was late as always. When his sleek black SUV finally appeared in the distance, her heart pounded with a mix of anger and longing. He stepped out, dressed sharp, holding a bouquet of white roses that looked absurd against the desolate backdrop. Layla's face was cold, her eyes sharp with betrayal. She wanted answers, not apologies. Omar tried to soften her with his usual charm, but it fell flat. The tension between them snapped like glass under pressure. Layla's voice rose, her accusations spilling out. How he'd used her, how he'd lied about leaving his wife, how she had proof that could ruin him. Omar's mask cracked. Panic flashed in his eyes. He begged her to keep things quiet, to think of what they both could lose. But Layla was done being silent. She turned toward her car to leave, threatening to expose him that very night. In a desperate impulse, Omar grabbed her arm, his grip too tight, his voice too loud. She struggled, furious and terrified. Then it happened, a single violent shove, a sickening thud as she stumbled backward, hitting her head hard against the car door before collapsing into the sand. Silence swallowed the moment. Omar froze, staring at her lifeless body, his chest heaving, his mind spinning. He dropped beside her, shaking her shoulders, whispering her name, but there was no response. The realization hit like ice. He had killed her. Under the haunting stillness of the desert, Omar dug a shallow grave with his bare hands, burying not just her body, but every secret he thought he could control. 2 days after that night in the desert, Layla's friends started to worry. She never went off the radar, not even for a few hours, and now her phone was dead, her apartment untouched, and her social media completely silent. Her roommate, Rania, tried calling over and over, but every call went straight to voicemail. Something felt wrong. When the weekend passed with no sign of her, Rania filed a missing person report with Dubai police, and soon the disappearance of the young PR executive made local headlines. Layla was well known in social circles, and the gossip spread fast. Some said she'd run away with a rich man. Others whispered about revenge or blackmail. The police began tracing her last movements, reviewing CCTV footage from every possible route she could have taken. That's when they found it. Grainy footage of her car heading toward Al-Qudra Road, the desert stretch where couples often went for privacy. The timestamp was from the same night she vanished. Detectives pulled traffic camera records and found another car trailing behind hers, a black SUV registered to Omar Al-Fayed. When they questioned him, he appeared calm, almost rehearsed. He said he hadn't seen Layla in weeks, claiming she had been obsessed and threatening him after he tried to end things. His voice was steady, but the detectives noticed the cracks, hesitations, inconsistent details, and a nervous glance when asked about his whereabouts that night. They requested his phone records and car GPS data, and that's when things started falling apart. Omar's phone pinged near Al-Qudra around midnight, the same time Layla's phone went offline. Her friends flooded social media with posts, urging anyone with information to come forward. The city buzzed with speculation, but deep in the desert, Layla's body remained hidden, buried under the sand, while her killer tried to pretend nothing had happened. Weeks passed before the truth began clawing its way to the surface. A local hiker exploring the outskirts of Al-Qudra stumbled upon something strange buried half in sand. A small leather purse, dusty and sun-bleached. Inside were a few makeup items, a broken phone, and an Emirates ID that read Layla Rahman. The hiker immediately reported it, and within hours, Dubai police sealed off the area. Forensics teams swept the desert with drones and dogs, and by the next morning they uncovered a shallow grave less than a mile from where the purse was found. The remains were quickly identified as Layla's. Her once glamorous life had ended in silence beneath the dunes. The autopsy revealed a blunt force trauma to the head, confirming what detectives had already begun to suspect. This was no accident. Investigators returned to Omar Al-Fayed, who still tried to play the role of an innocent man caught in a tragedy. But the evidence didn't lie. His SUV's GPS showed that he drove into the desert that night and returned hours later. A trace analysis found sand particles identical to those from the burial site embedded in his tires and floor mats. Even worse, Layla's DNA was discovered in the back seat of his car, along with faint traces of blood that had been hastily cleaned. When confronted with the findings, Omar grew defensive, insisting it was all planted, that someone was framing him. But the web of lies he'd spun was collapsing fast. His phone records showed multiple deleted messages to Layla the night she died, and his alibi crumbled under scrutiny. Dubai's media erupted with headlines about the shocking murder that shattered the illusion of perfection among the city's elite. The desert, silent but unforgiving, had finally spoken, and its secrets pointed directly at Omar. The courtroom was packed to the walls when Omar Al-Fayed finally faced justice. His once flawless reputation shredded under the weight of truth. Reporters filled every seat, cameras flashing as the story of the rich businessman and his forbidden affair turned deadly dominated headlines across Dubai and beyond. Omar sat stiff in his tailored suit, his eyes hollow, his confidence replaced by quiet dread. Mariam, his wife, sat in the back row, her face emotionless, her diamond ring gone, her silence louder than any accusation. The prosecutors laid out the story piece by piece: his affair with Layla, the threat she made, the GPS data, the forensics, the blood in his car, and finally, the shallow grave beneath the desert moon. Every piece of evidence painted a picture he could no longer deny. The jury took less than a day to deliberate before returning their verdict: guilty of murder in the second degree. As the judge read out his sentence, 25 years in Al Awir Central Prison, Omar's composure finally broke. He buried his face in his hands, tears sliding down the same fingers that once held Layla's hand beneath the city lights. Mariam stood and walked out without looking back, leaving behind a man she no longer recognized. The city buzzed for weeks, dissecting every detail of the scandal, the affair, the lies, the fatal fight in the desert. Layla became more than a victim. She became a warning whispered in Dubai's nightlife, a haunting reminder of how love can twist into obsession and ruin. Her friends held a memorial overlooking the skyline she once adored, releasing white roses into the air that disappeared into the wind. Life in Dubai moved on, as it always does, shiny and fast. But somewhere beneath the glitter, her story lingered, a ghost buried in the sand, a love story turned into a cautionary tale.